Welcome to Northwest Profiles, a look at people, places, and events of interest in the inland Northwest.
Canada's rivers and lakes, carved by the artistic and powerful hands of nature. Half the world's fresh water is found within the Canadian borders. There are as many miles of inland waterways in Canada as in all other nations of the world combined. 200 years ago, during the heyday of the Montreal fur trade, these rivers and lakes became the highways traveled by the French voyageurs. In an age before air travel, and in a land devoid of road or rail, these profit-seekers and independent souls braved the wilderness to travel, trap, and trade the prized beaver pelt. Today, it's difficult for our civilized society to comprehend why men chose the life of the voyageur. What drove these men to battle the elements, transporting tons of furs back and forth across the continent, only to be shipped across the ocean to the European elite?
They lived in a setting which was very wild, and they didn't have to answer to anyone else. They were their own people, basically.
It's the job of Art Jackson, operations manager for the team of the Rocky Mountain Voyageur Company, based in Jasper, Alberta, to share the past history of the voyageur and the Northern Rockies.
Rocky Mountain Voyageur Company was started by two fellows that were very keen on providing an experience for folks in the historical sense with the Voyageur canoe. I think the idea originally was that it was a unique, very unique theme, and something that fit perfectly well with this area because it was a cultural river. It's part of the Canadian Heritage River System, and so it definitely did fit in.
Gently flowing through the heart of the Jasper National Park is the Athabasca River, the backdrop for this unique opportunity to step back in time.
I think it's a unique approach that way because we're combining not only the cultural history of this area, but we're doing it in a setting that has all the natural attractions as well, the natural history, which happens to fit right in with the Jasper National Park's mission statement, which they want to create an understanding, appreciation, and respect for the natural ecosystems. And part of that mission also includes a cultural heritage. And our program touches on basically all those areas, culturally and natural history.
Young men who signed on as a voyageur for the 3-year stint with the Northwest Company received 2 clean shirts, 2 clean handkerchiefs, 2 pairs of trousers, 2 blankets, and 14 pounds of tobacco. The Rocky Mountain Voyageur team prepared these honorary voyageurs in their own way.
To become honorary voyageurs, we must dress you like voyageurs. The voyageurs, as we said, were very flamboyant in their dress and their colors, and we have the traditional ceinture fléchée, which is the Arrowhead Belt. And the Arrowhead Belt has woven arrowheads in the sash, in the belt. And what this belt is made for is to wear around the middle, and it was used by the voyageurs to help protect their internal organs when they lifted very heavy loads. Because we deal in more of a hands-on approach, we try to get the folks dressed as voyageurs. We try to do some role-playing a little bit with our swearing-in ceremonies and get them to become the milieu, which were the middle paddlers again for the Hudson Bay and the Northwest Company. The first one, we must drink above all others.
We must drink above all others.
We must eat above all others.
We must eat above all
I think these are good rules, you know. A healthy lifestyle, of course. And of course, we must give lots of hugs to our friends. There you go. What we're going to do here, in this particular portion of the channel, we need some forward paddle power just to get us down this channel out into the main current. Okay, milieu, are we ready? And we're off to Montreal. Long ways, eh, Jess? I hope you packed a lunch. This part of the Athabasca is relatively calm and quite flat, so it suits the Voyageur canoes that we use. And the types of folks we get range in age from babies in arms to folks that are 90 years old. And they can go down this part of the river see a part of the mountain valley that they would never see in any other form, because the view from the river is so different.
The curious who venture to Jasper National Park remind the Voyageur team how little is actually known about the wild and flavor-filled Canadian history.
The history of this area is unknown to most people that come through. They're, again, travelers from all over the world, and this is one way that we can enable them to learn a bit more about Canada, and in particular this part of Canada in the Rockies, the Canadian Rockies. And many of them comment after their trip it was the most unique thing they've done in Canada, because it is a totally uniquely Canadian type of an experience with the Voyageur canoes.
Jasper Park's magnificent scenery is equaled only by the wildlife that abounds, weaving a perfect combination of nature's tapestry that the Rocky Mountain Voyageurs and all the employees of the park work hard to preserve.
It is one of the more unique parks in North America, and it hasn't been impacted by the numbers of people that a lot of other parks have had. And it's hopefully when people do come here, they'll appreciate what's here and not damage it in any way, and keep it as low an impact as possible for future generations, because that's definitely what we're trying to do in our program as well, is to get people to understand that what's here is beautiful, and try and leave it that way.
The geological grandeur of the Rocky Mountains is creatively woven into art's presentation as the Voyageurs gently paddle their way along the 8-mile excursion.
And here we go. On the left side is the Palisade, cliffs, and Pyramid Mountain in the background. As I mentioned before, Pyramid Mountain is the oldest rock in the park, 600 to 700 million years old, part of the main ranges.
The 32-foot, 300-pound canoe, or Canoe de Maître, could carry up to 79-pound cargo packages while driven by a dozen men. The birchwood construction was considered frail, and if not properly navigated, could quite easily capsize. You really had to keep your tongue in the middle of your mouth, otherwise the canoe would capsize, once wrote a 20th century fur trader. The canoe used by the Rocky Mountain Voyageurs is made of cedar, more durable and much more stable than the originals.
The native Indians were the discoverer, the designer of the canoe, and they called the word originally was a French word. It meant, it was pronounced, I believe, canot, a canot, and it became anglicized to canoe.
Dwarfed in comparison to the enormous size of the canoes, the Voyageurs themselves could not exceed a certain weight and size.
They had to be like between 5'2" and 5'6", and preferably the shorter, the better, due to the fact that they would take up too much room in the canoe. They wanted the room for the furs and the trade goods. So there was a size restriction, and I think maximum weight was like 140 pounds, and anybody bigger just was not hired.
The honor of becoming a voyageur inevitably fell on the shoulders of the youngest man of the family. Sometimes there was little choice, because the eldest son would usually inherit the farm, leaving nothing for the other siblings to fall back on.
They even had a saying that you were born under a lucky star if you were born and only grew to be 5'2". So that was, to them it was very lucky to become a voyageur, even though it was a very tough life. I mean, they lived in very hard conditions with cold water to wade in, pulling the boats against the current, doing 4 and 5 month journeys on the rivers to get all the way down to Montreal. The Hudson Bay has a motto in Latin. It meant a skin for a skin, and that was the motto on their crest. In Latin, I think it was pro calicutum. It meant a skin for a skin, and basically the trappers risked their lives to get skins.
The voyageur, Caesars of the wilderness, an independent breed of man that has all but disappeared. Today, the spirit that drove the voyageur to cross the continent in their canoes, carving Canada's past, is merely a chapter in our history books of a life that we can only dream about.
I think the romanticism is definitely there for the modern day man. And I think maybe if we'd grown up with that lifestyle, it would have been a different thing. But boy, for most people today to survive that kind of routine would have been pretty difficult. Probably go for it once and then quit, you know. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Hey! Good job, voyageurs. We're docking in Montreal right now.
If you have a topic for Northwest Profiles, send it to KSPS TV, 3911 South Regal, Spokane, Washington, 99223. Northwest Profiles is a presentation of KSPS Public Television.